At the beginning of the movie, we see a woman named Caroline traveling somewhere with her daughter. Suddenly, she notices some people running around in a panic. Curious, she steps outside to check and hears gunshots. It turns out that some people are rounding up others and forcing them onto a NASA rocket. Seeing this, Caroline quickly hides in her car with her daughter. However, the enemies spot them. They approach Caroline's car, drag her daughter out, and take her away. Caroline faints from the shock. Time passes, and after a while, we see Caroline traveling on a train. Suddenly, the train comes to a stop, and a sergeant arrives, calling out her name. When Caroline steps out, she tells the sergeant that this isn't her stop. The sergeant then shows her new orders and tells her that she has to get off here. At that moment, another soldier named Neeland approaches Caroline and takes her to his vehicle to escort her to the base. On the way, Neeland starts talking to Caroline, asking her where she is from and about her past. Caroline shares some details with him. A short while later, Neeland stops the car near a refugee camp and tells Caroline, "No matter what happens, do not step out of the vehicle." Saying this, he heads inside the camp. However, after waiting for a long time, Neeland does not return. Worried, Caroline steps out of the car to look for him. Suddenly, a group of refugees appears and points their guns at her, trying to seize the vehicle. What they didn't know was that Caroline wasn't an easy target. In a flash, she pulls out her gun and starts taking them down one by one. After dealing with all of them, she gets back into the vehicle and drives herself alone to the base camp. However, as soon as she arrives, she finds herself surrounded at gunpoint once again. Caroline shows them her papers to prove her identity. After checking the documents, they allow her to enter. Inside, she meets her teammates Kareem Malik and Grand Vic. As they introduce themselves, Captain Forsberg arrives and takes them to a bald man named Captain Rudd. Rudd asks the captain to explain the mission to them. Captain Forsberg begins by saying, "We are losing our camps one by one. Refugees are attacking us everywhere. And if we don't stop them soon, we will lose everything. If this civil war doesn't end, the remaining survivors will also be wiped out." She then reveals that there is only one way to end this war. They have 2 capsules that must be delivered to their research facility for study. These capsules hold the key to stopping the civil war. However, reaching the facility will not be easy. No vehicles can travel there because the entire route is covered in snow. The only way to get there is by skating. That is why this mission has been assigned to them. They will have to skate across the frozen terrain to reach the research facility. After explaining everything, the bald colonel announces, "This mission will be called Black Crab." Hearing this, Caroline reacts in shock, saying, "This is practically a suicide mission. We have to skate more than 100 miles through freezing cold conditions, surrounded by enemies and in complete darkness. If we go there, we may never return alive, because in that place, death lurks at every moment." Caroline's words irritate the bald colonel, and he angrily says, "I am not requesting you. I am ordering you. Whether you like it or not, you have to go on this mission." After saying this, he orders everyone to leave but asks Caroline to stay behind. He then tells her, "You are absolutely right. This mission is extremely dangerous, but if we want to save humanity, someone has to complete it." He looks at her and adds, "If you complete this mission, I will give you the most precious gift of your life." Saying this, he shows her a photo of her daughter and tells her, "She is in one of the refugee camps. Complete this mission, and we will find and bring her back to you." Hearing this, Caroline takes the photo and leaves. Later, Captain Forsberg arrives and hands over essential supplies to the team: guns, ropes, torches, etc. Each bag weighs 20 kilograms. She also gives them capsules of morphine and cyanide, saying, "You all know exactly when to use these." She then instructs them to get some rest, as they have to leave at first light. However, in the middle of the night, the enemy launches a sudden attack. Captain Forsberg immediately shouts, "Get out of here, now!" The team quickly grabs their gear and escapes through the back route of the base camp. On the way, they run into the bald colonel, who is now accompanied by Neeland, who has finally returned. The colonel hands them 2 capsules and orders them to safely deliver them to the Odo Research Center. The team carefully places the capsules in Forsberg's bag and proceeds forward. They now find themselves on a frozen river, stepping onto the ice-covered surface as their dangerous journey begins. From this moment on, Captain Forsberg is in charge, and the bald colonel has sent them straight into the jaws of death. These soldiers could only travel at night and had to hide during the day to avoid being spotted by enemies. But the frozen river they were skating on was highly unpredictable, adding another layer of danger to their mission. After skating for hours, morning arrives, and exhaustion takes over. The team decides to rest in a secluded spot. Malik, however, warns, "It's not safe to stop here. The enemy could easily spot us." Just as they prepare to move forward, the thin layer of ice suddenly cracks beneath Captain Forsberg, and she falls into the freezing water. Before anyone can react, she disappears beneath the ice, leaving the team in shock. For a moment, no one knows what to do. Then, without hesitation, Caroline jumps into the freezing water. Using a knife, she cuts the bag off Captain Forsberg's shoulder, retrieving the capsules they were supposed to deliver to the Odo Research Center. With the bag secured, Caroline emerges from the icy water and collapses on the surface, shivering. The team quickly moves on before more ice breaks. After walking some distance, they spot a house in the distance. Tired and desperate, they enter the house cautiously, searching every corner to ensure it's safe. Once they confirm it's empty, they light a fire to warm themselves. Caroline, having been in freezing water, struggles as her fingers become numb and barely functional. Sitting by the fire, she slowly regains some warmth and mobility. Then, Grandvik asks, "What do we do now?" Malik responds, "From now on, Lieutenant Neeland will be in charge." Caroline, however, doesn't trust Neeland at all. She glares at him and says, "He abandoned me to die and went into hiding. I don't trust him." But Malik firmly insists, "From now on, we follow Neeland's orders." The tension in the room rises as Caroline looks at Neeland, her eyes filled with doubt and anger. After resting for a while, Caroline suddenly wakes up to the sound of a helicopter. She steps outside and notices Creamy talking to someone. As soon as they spot the helicopter, they rush back inside, quickly extinguish the fire, and hide in the nearby bushes. Moments later, the helicopter drops a bomb on the house, blowing it to pieces. As soon as the helicopter leaves, Caroline points her gun at Creamy and accuses him of talking to someone suspicious. When he tries to grab the gun from her, Malik pins him down and demands answers, threatening to kill him on the spot. Under pressure, Creamy confesses that he was trying to contact his girlfriend, who works as a communication officer at Base F-28. After this confrontation, the group resumes their journey, walking for hours without rest. Suddenly, Creamy trips and falls. When they look around, they realize they are surrounded by frozen corpses, evidence of a brutal massacre. The lieutenant instructs them to turn off their lights and move forward cautiously. After traveling further, they reach an icy cliff and decide to stop for a moment. Just then, a helicopter appears and opens fire on them. Everyone scrambles to take cover, hiding wherever they can. A few minutes later, the helicopter leaves, and they regroup. Seeking shelter, they come across a cluster of abandoned camps. After thoroughly checking the area, they find no sign of life until they spot a house with lights on. Cautiously, they approach and discover an elderly couple living inside. The old man tells them they have been living there for years, hiding whenever outsiders arrive. His wife offers them food, and the group sits at the table to eat. While eating, Caroline accidentally drops her spoon. As she bends down to pick it up, she notices a machine gun hidden under the table. Before she can react, the old man suddenly starts firing at them. The group barely manages to take cover, and, in the chaos, kills both the old man and his wife, sending them to the afterlife. During the gunfight, a bullet struck Creamy in the head, killing him instantly. Malik was also hit, but he chose to hide his injury from the others. However, the lieutenant soon noticed his condition. Suddenly, a voice came through Creamy's walkie-talkie. It was a woman identifying herself as an F-28 communication officer. This confirmed that Creamy had been telling the truth. Realizing their mistake, the group apologized to him before continuing their journey. Malik's condition was deteriorating rapidly, yet he kept pushing forward. Eventually, they stopped to check his wound, but he refused any help, insisting he was fine. However, after walking a bit further, his condition worsened significantly. Caroline then spotted a ship in the distance and urged the group to reach it. With great effort, they finally arrived. Caroline suggested leaving Malik outside since carrying him inside would be too difficult. However, Grandvik refused. The lieutenant proposed leaving some food and water for Malik and then returning with help from the Roto Research Center. At that moment, Grandvik grabbed the capsules and announced that he needed to know what they had risked their lives for. Ignoring the lieutenant's protests, he opened the capsules, revealing a biological weapon. Malik, horrified, explained that this weapon wouldn't just end the civil war but would wipe out everything. Malik then insisted that the group should leave without him. Caroline stepped outside to check for any threats. Just then, a gunshot echoed from inside the ship. As Caroline rushed inside, she discovered that Malik had taken his own life. He didn't want to be a burden on the group or waste their supplies. Caroline, frustrated, told the others, "You can waste your time here if you want, but I'm not staying to get shot." With that, she set off on her own. After traveling some distance, the thick ice beneath her feet gave way to a thinner surface. Despite the danger, she had no choice but to keep moving forward. Suddenly, the ice cracked beneath her, and she fell in. She struggled to stay above water just as the lieutenant and Grandvik arrived. The lieutenant shouted for her to throw the capsule. Without hesitation, Caroline tossed it aside. He then threw her a rope and pulled her to safety. As the three continued forward, they were suddenly ambushed by gunfire. They immediately dropped to the ground. Grandvik quickly took aim with his rifle and eliminated the sniper with a headshot. They cautiously approached the sniper's position, only to find no survivors. With no other choice, they decided to spend the night there. The next morning, Caroline woke up and noticed that the lieutenant was missing. Realizing he had taken the capsules and left, she peered down from the ledge and saw enemies approaching, firing at them. Caroline and Grandvik returned fire, swiftly taking them down. However, just as they thought they were safe, an enemy soldier shot Caroline from behind. At that moment, she was holding an active grenade. Thinking fast, she leaped out of the blast radius, surviving the explosion. But Grandvik wasn't as lucky. Now alone, Caroline pressed on toward the Odo Research Center. Along the way, she spotted the lieutenant and immediately shot him, wounding him. Approaching him, she demanded the capsules. The lieutenant, barely conscious, replied, "Right now, Since they were above the ocean, the lieutenant insisted that the only way to stop the virus was to bury it deep underwater. Otherwise, it would destroy the entire world. But Caroline had only one priority: saving her daughter. The lieutenant tried to reason with her, but she was blinded by her love. Meanwhile, her condition deteriorated so much that she could no longer lift her gun. Weak and staggering, she left the weapon behind and continued forward. That's when she had a vision of her fallen comrades. They appeared before her, questioning her actions. "Why do you want to destroy humanity?" Overwhelmed, Caroline collapsed and lost consciousness. When she woke up, she found herself inside the Odo Research Center. She was taken to meet a woman, a colonel, who honored her for completing the first phase of the mission and promoted her to second lieutenant. Lieutenant Neeland was also present, but Caroline had only one question: "Where is my daughter?" The colonel's answer shattered her world. "We don't know anything about your daughter. We lied to send you on this mission." Caroline's mind snapped. Enraged, she attacked the colonel, beating her mercilessly. The next day, while getting her bandages changed, Caroline secretly hid a small knife. She then approached Lieutenant Neeland and declared, "If my daughter is still alive, I won't let this virus take her." With that, the two set off to find the secret lab. After a difficult journey, they finally infiltrated the facility and captured two scientists, demanding to know where the capsules were. One of the scientists led them to a secure location and handed over the capsules. Caroline wasted no time. She immediately extracted the vial containing the virus. Just then, they heard footsteps. A large group of people was coming straight for them, ready to kill. Just as Caroline was about to detonate a grenade and blow up the entire place, one of the scientists stopped her. "Sound the alarm and get out of here. Once you're outside, destroy the virus in isolation. That way, no one else will get infected." Following his advice, they triggered the alarm, causing red warning lights to flash across the facility. Disguised in scientists' uniforms, Caroline and Neeland made their way out. By now, Caroline's condition had worsened severely. As they moved forward, they spotted a helicopter preparing to evacuate the remaining scientists. But before they could reach it, the colonel and her men arrived, blocking their path. Caroline, despite her exhaustion, stood firm. "If anyone takes a step closer, I'll release the grenade trigger." Neeland took this chance, boarded the helicopter, and escaped. Meanwhile, Caroline reached the edge of the platform, took one final look at the chaos and leaped off, releasing the trigger midair. With a massive explosion, she sacrificed herself, saving not just humanity, but in her heart, her daughter. Of the 6 comrades who started the mission, only Neeland survived. As he flew away, he watched the destruction unfold below, his eyes filled with tears for Caroline's sacrifice. And with this emotional climax, the thrilling movie Black Crab comes to an end. Friends, we'll continue bringing you such exciting movie explanations, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and drop your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you.